The ancient Roman city of Pompeii. Pompeii, a city with advanced technology and art, triumphed for over 500 years, but then the mighty Mount Vesuvius erupted, tragically putting a stop to a once flourishing city and destroying people's homes. Those who did not escape died. The Pompeians had advanced technology such as aqueducts, which fed water into their bathhouses, which contained 3 rooms: the hot room, where there was a heated pool, the warm room, which had less hot pools, and the cold room, where the pool was cold. Pompeii was around for 700 years before Mount Vesuvius erupted. It was a prosperous town populated with 1 to 12,000 people. Before it was destroyed, the city was less famous. Its region, Campania, was famous in this period. This area had rich farmland, especially Mount Vesuvius's fertile slopes, because Sarno and other rivers fed water into the Campanian plain. Pompeii was part of a network of towns, cities, and farms. Pompeii was by the seashore, a bustling port city, with silk clams, wild animals, and exotic fruits from around the known world entering through the port. Pompeii served as a summer seaside resort for the rich Romans who usually own a summer house in Pompeii and a house elsewhere for the rest of the year. They also had beautiful art such as frescoes and mosaics. However, Mount Vesuvius, a huge volcano that loomed over Pompeii, had been building up tremendous geologic pressure since its last eruption. The Pompeians did not learn from the past eruption because it was more than 1,000 years ago when few lived in the area and everyone forgot about it. Suddenly, one morning in August AD 79, the volcano blew its top tremendously in a huge explosion. Very quickly, a city that had thrived for over 500 years had perished under the ashes and lava and become part of history, where it was forgotten until 1,669 years later, when a surveyor found the buried city of Pompeii in 1748. In August 1991, after people had demolished buildings in the area, excavators were hired to unearth old Pompeii, where they rediscovered the secrets of the ancient city. The excavation was a very long process because Pompeii was giant. The excavators received $23 million from the Italian government to clear pebbly volcanic debris called lapilli, but they found a thick blanket of hardened ash which turned their labor in a new direction. When the excavators finally dug through the layer of ash, they found cavities or holes in the ground that were the shapes of human and animal victims who had perished. One of the workers came across a group of these bodies, and he told the project manager. The manager, Giuseppe Fiorelli, had the ingenious idea of filling these cavities with plaster to show exactly what the shape of the victim was when they tragically died. During the latter stages of the eruption, ash surrounded many victims and solidified around them, and when their flesh decayed, it left a hole in the ground in the shape of a person. Workers filled these holes with a mixture of cement and bauxite, sculpting the shape of the victim when they died. To the 1991 archaeologists, the ash layer seemed a possible source of more cavities. Pompeii was buried in a pile of volcanic debris at a maximum of 25 feet deep. By sealing off Pompeii, Mount Vesuvius had created a time capsule out of Pompeii. One of archaeology's most triumphant preservation stories is that of Pompeii. After the excavation, Pompeii was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of the state of preservation of the entire town. From Pompeii, we can understand great details about Roman life 2,000 years ago. In AD 79, Mount Vesuvius had not erupted in 1,000 years, but during that time, geological stress had been building up inside of Mount Vesuvius at about the rate of 1 inch per year. In AD 62, a big earthquake came to Pompeii. Apparently, no one associated the earthquake with Mount Vesuvius. The earthquake was a sign that the geologic pressure that had been building up was going to burst. In early August AD 79, there was another earthquake. Also, many springs and wells turned dry, a symptom of rising pressure. During the early morning of August 24 or late night of August 23, ash began to come from Mount Vesuvius, lightly putting dust on the land downwind. At 1:00 p.m., the plug of Mount Vesuvius gave way to built-up pressure, blowing molten rock 17 miles into the stratosphere. The molten rock traveled at approximately 2 times the speed of sound, eventually getting shredded into small particles, losing momentum, spreading out into a flat cloud, and then getting blown to the southeast by stratospheric winds. The town of Pompeii was in that direction, and shortly after that, debris started to rain down on the city. Pliny the Younger watched the eruption from 19 miles away in Misenum, a naval base. He had come to visit his uncle, Pliny the Elder, who commanded an entire fleet with his mother. The historian Tacitus requested that Pliny the Younger write a written account of the eruption. He noted that the cloud, quote, resembled a pine tree, for it shot up a great height in the form of a trunk which extended itself at the top into several branches, end quote. He wrote that his uncles had said that the phenomenon was important and worth a near review. He ordered the ship to be ready, but he then received a note that people close to the eruption were in danger, so he organized a rescue mission. Pliny the Younger was not on board the ship, so he reconstructed the scene from reports from people who saw his uncle. Pliny the Younger wrote that the cinders got hotter as Pliny the Elder approached the volcano and that the shore was blocked by landslides. Pliny the Elder's galley's captain urged a retreat, but the admiral ordered him to keep going to Stabiae. This decision would cost Pliny the Elder his life, as he later died of asphyxiation. Meanwhile, the hills and coast southeast of Vesuvius were stricken with fear. The sky was raining down rocks and rubble from the volcano. Pompeii was covered in about a foot of volcanic rubble in about 2 or 3 hours. Roofs of buildings began to crumble, crushing victims underneath them. Oil lamps spilled, causing large fires. At about 8 o'clock a.m., the fifth and most powerful surge came. Pliny the Elder survived throughout the night in Stabiae. He had a history of breathing problems, so when the surge came through, he tried to get to the shore but couldn't lift himself up, and when he tried to, with the help of his 2 slaves, he collapsed immediately and died. Pliny the Younger wrote that, quote, a black and dreadful cloud bursting out in gusts of igneous serpentine vapor now and again yawned open to reveal larger fantastic flames resembling flashes of lightning but larger, end quote. Mount Vesuvius had now almost been erupting for 18 hours. Most of Pompeii had already been buried. About 90% of the population of Pompeii had escaped in time to stay alive. Later, at a mansion, workers were trying to unearth Pompeii. They were trying to get out of a room next door with many valuables when tunnels caved in and poisonous gases escaped from under the ash, and they were added to the city's dead. At the time of the destruction of Pompeii, the Emperor Titus tried to rebuild Pompeii. Many people think that the city came to light by unearthing each building one at a time, but in reality it was unburied by digging a network of tunnels and unburying buildings in Pompeii in an exact and careful manner. People have not improved on the placement of their cities in relation to volcanoes after the AD 79 eruption. Unfortunately, Mount Vesuvius is overdue to erupt and will wipe out the cities near the volcano. If the volcano hadn't destroyed the city, then we would have never known anything about it. When Mount Vesuvius tragically destroyed Pompeii, it also triumphantly preserved it for future generations.